Hello, it's Karen Burniston here with my monthly designer challenge video. Our theme this month is Sweet Summer, and it is my sister's birthday next week, so I decided to do a staggered charm accordion. Now this is a technique that I had previously shown as just a blog post, but people had asked for a video tutorial. I'll also make use of a couple of our charm dies, and you can check out all of our die designs at karenburniston.com. Our dies work in all of the major die cutting machines that can accommodate a wafer-thin die, and today I'm using a Sizzix Big Shot. And I'll use that Charm Accordion Die Set to cut a page set out of brown cardstock and then just lightly find the fold in the middle. And then I'm going to use that same die, and I've cut it already a second time out of the brown cardstock, and then 3 times out of pattern papers. Those are just papers out of my stash. I just found ones that were nice, bright summer colors. And then I cut 3 pieces of the same brown cardstock to 4 1/4 by 3/4 and then scored each up the middle for folding. I made 3 of these to be the hinges to connect my pages together. For the brown page sets, I want to separate these now into individual pages so that I can flip every other one around and make that staggered look. So that's just a matter of using my trimmer and putting the fold down into the track of the trimmer. So that's probably the easiest way to do it, just because I think the width is 3 1/4, and on most trimmers that's in that dead spot on your measuring. So easier just to put the actual fold line down into the track and cut it. So for page 2 and page 4, I flipped them around so that the big square, the pivoting square, is near the bottom. And then I'll use those pieces that I created, those hinges, to actually connect these pages together. And I want those hinges always on the back of the album where I won't see them from the front. So between the first 2 pages, those will eventually be folded as a valley. So I can lay those 2 pages on top of each other, get the hinge behind them. That way I know that they can close up nicely into a valley fold. Between page 2 and page 3 will be a mountain fold. So the hinge still goes on the back, but it'll be oriented as a mountain. And then the final hinge will once again be a valley. So that'll be between page 3 and page 4. And I'm just using my strong adhesive. I like my fine tip bottle filled with LINECO neutral pH adhesive. We do sell both of those items on our website. And obviously you could continue on with additional pages if you wanted a longer staggered accordion. For my patterned paper, I'll use my scissors to trim out the pivoting squares, since I just want to use these pieces as wallpaper for the pages themselves. I'll do that same trick with putting the center fold into the trimmer, and then for these pages, I will just choose a little line on the trimmer. I didn't even measure it, I just made sure it was always the same, to take a little bit off of the 4 sides so that when I glue that paper on, I'll have a nice little brown border around the outside of all the pages. And then I'll use my final 2 pieces of pattern paper on the front of the album and on the back. And again, I'll trim a little bit off the side so that I get a nice little border. There is a cute little corner flourish that comes included with the Charm Accordion, and I decided to use it with some glitter. So I've got text weight paper, that's just printer paper, just a strip of it, onto some score tape. And then when I die cut my little flourish corner, I'll die cut down through the score tape side so that it will be sticky on top. I'm using some Microfine glitters from VZ Crafts. They did send these to me and asked me to try them out. And I like this Aquamarine color. It's a very matte finish, so it's not going to be super sparkly. And I did a few of my flourishes with the Aquamarine, but then I also used the warm crystal for some other flourishes, and that is quite shiny. So I like that there are 2 different styles of glitter from VZ Crafts. I used 5 of those glittered flourishes to decorate the front of my card. The next piece to die cut is the tabbed frame. I will need 3 of them. And what I like to do is work the side tabs, the folds on the side tabs, in both directions, just to kind of loosen those up and get those ready for the album. There is also a fold right up the middle of that piece. So after working those 3 folds, then I just want to make sure that the hole is up at the top because that is important. I'm going to hang little charms from these frames, so I want to make sure that I'm orienting the hole at the top of the frame. And then I'll just need to use the side tab to attach that frame behind one of my pivoting squares. And on page 1, I need to put that down as low as I can get it so that I can use the other tab on the other side and it will fit my second pivoting square. So there is really only one spot that these will work, that they'll fit between both squares. So it's pretty easy to find the orientation. The only thing you would have to worry about, like I said, is just making sure the hole in the center frame is up at the top. Okay, so now that that frame's in place, if I want to pivot the 2 big squares towards the outside, then what'll happen is that little frame in the middle will just kind of collapse between them like this. So it'll be mountains on the outside of that little frame and then a valley fold in the center. And then it'll suspend between the 2 pivoting squares just like this. For attaching the next tabbed frame, it's easier to do from the back of the album. So if you just turn the album over, and then it'll make access very easy to add that tabbed frame to the next 2 pivoting squares. And then once you get those tabs attached, you can kind of work the folds again, just like you did with the other one, so that they're trained then. Now you don't see much of that particular frame from the front of the album. It's really kind of hidden. They're tucked behind the big pages, but then when you look at it from the side, you will see it. And then just do the same thing. Do the final tabbed frame between the final 2 pages. And on all those tabbed frames, I did make sure that the holes were at the top. So on the first time you train it, just worry about the big squares. Make sure that they're pivoting 2 sets of pivoting to the outside. So they basically make an accordion opposite to the one on the outside. So you have alternating zigzags. And then you can start fussing with those little frames and making sure that they're kicking in to the album. It works either way. It's only a matter of whether you want to see those little frames in the little space around the pivoting square when the album is closed. If you don't care, just let them do whatever they want to do. If you do care, then make sure that they're kicked inward. I cut 4 of the stitched squares out of white, and then I'm going to nest the smaller square in the middle of that die so that I can cut a few frames that will perfectly fit on those white squares. And then on 3 of the frames, I'll add a small hole to the top. The Charm Accordion die set comes with a die to cut 4 paper jump rings at one time. Now you can use metal jump rings, you could use twine. There's various ways that you can put charms onto this album, but if you use the paper jump rings, it really reduces the weight of the album, and they're just kind of a fun little look. I've cut them out of a silver cardstock. So I'll add a jump ring through the hole of my 3 larger frames before I glue them to the white squares. And then I also added those paper jump rings through the holes on the frames in the album. I've cut and assembled all 4 of the Sweet Treats charms plus 2 of the birthday charms. And then to add those to each frame, I'll use those paper jump rings that I already have in place. So that's just a matter of getting the hole on the charm over that paper jump ring, and then I can rotate the jump ring until I get a good location for the charm. And then I'll use the paper jump rings again to suspend the smaller charms in those little small frames in the album. Now this is optional, but you can seal those jump rings with a little spot of glue if you're worried about the charms falling off of them. And then I just continued right through the card, adding the rest of the charms and the greeting. And I also cut some little red hearts using the die that comes with the birthday charms, added a little heart to each of my big pages. And I decided I didn't want my large charms to be quite so loose in the card, so I anchored those to the pages by using a pop dot behind each one and then just choosing an angle that I liked. So final touches were a couple more of those glittered flourishes on the pink pages, and then a strip of white cardstock on a blue page to be able to sign the card. And I did die cut out that small heart, ink the edges, and then inlaid it back into the opening. The Charm Accordion is such a cute size. It's like a little fun size card, 3¼ by 4¼ when folded up. But then when you open it up and display it, it really has a lot of substance to it. So it doesn't feel small, even though it does have that kind of fun size to it. You can mail that easily in an A2 envelope. We do offer a lot of different charm sets on the website that are all sized to work perfectly with the Charm Accordion, or of course you can use them on all of your other projects as well. By doing the staggering technique, you just get such fun movement to this card. So that's just a great little way, alternate assembly for that Charm Accordion die set. The blog post for this designer challenge will also have a link to the original Staggered accordion blog post, which was this wine-themed card. If you click on the website link, you'll go to KarenBurniston.com, where you can find out information about purchasing these dies, as well as links to all my other social media accounts. You can subscribe to this YouTube channel and check out some of my other videos. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.